Good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the course. So if you remember, last week we were learning about big data and Kosinski and Cambridge Analytica and all the big, scandals around it and the psychometric model that they were using in order to get to know ourselves, our personalities, and know what sort of targeted messages they need in order to, manipulate or convince us, but rather to manipulate us indeed. And so today we're going to go ahead with social media and we will define the whole phenomenon as it is, and then we will move into defining those problems that social media is facing nowadays, such as fake news, such as the problem of authorship, plagiarism, and a lot of other things as well. So let's just jump right into it, and then we shall see how far we can go. Actually, let's take a look. So, social media by definition. Social media is going to be forms of electronic communication. So we are thinking in here websites, social networking, and microblogging as well, which I think is no longer a very big thing. But if you do have a blog, please let me know. I think it was big when I was younger. I was in your position, like in the BA program, and I don't really see it that much. But nowadays it's rather the visuality that is going to be conquering everything. So it's rather a YouTube channel or a vlog channel instead of a blog. But let me know if you still kind of see it or if you run one as well, because that would be exciting. Through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as videos. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's really, really important that Michel actually calls it the pictorial turn that we've been through, and right now we are just communicating in messages necessarily. Now you can tell that social media, it fits the image of the Web 2.0 period. We've mentioned that the 1.0 one was the showing face kind of a phrase of humanity, not phrase but face, sorry, in which we kind of started to upload. The companies started uploading their profiles and stuff like that, and they never touched it, and it was just like a not updated brochure-like web page, really. 2.0 is the current period, which is the period of participatory culture, common creation, common intelligence, kind of, like social media and stuff, where we are creating content together, user-generated content, and the news media is also all about this one, because 30% of the news at the moment is going to be user generated. So it's like a big thing that us, lay public, which is not very educated, at least not in the media, is going to kind of join the media with smart devices. So in here, we ourselves, and I'm not talking about us because we are trained in communication and media, but the lay public with very knowledgeable at some point, but sometimes not that, is going to join the creation of the media with their smart devices. So the device is smarter than the person itself at the moment. And then last but not least, Web 3.0 is coming along, which is going to be the period of augmented reality, virtual reality, and a lot of holograms, whatever, I don't know, but we shall see how it goes. Okay, so the era of social media as we understand it today, so it's like kind of giving a feedback, constant information gathering and sharing and stuff like that. It probably started in the 1970s in the United States of America. Yes, it's like Bruce and Susan Abelson, they are husband and wife, and they founded the Open Diary, which was like an early social networking site. So that was like the first one that brought together online diary writers, and they were just like giving feedback on each other's works as well and sharing experience and like, oh yes, I've had that too, and this happened to me too. So it was like everyday life problems that they started putting on, and right now that's what YouTubers do, majority of them. So they started off, you can tell that the content is like declining a little bit in many cases. So many YouTubers started off as some sort of a video gamer or a makeup artist or something, without having maybe like a makeup artist kind of something like a paper behind it. It's just like trying it out and doing it. And then afterwards, because the content is only exciting for so long, they started like joining social events, or they started giving daily life activity kind of tips and tricks, or daily routines and stuff like that. This was the initial phase of it. So this open diary was the same thing as, I'm often scared to say diarrhea, but it's open diary, sorry, but I'm hoping I've never said that. And so it was the initial phase of this, how I do my coffee and how I do this and that, on my face. So it's practically the first one from 1970s. We didn't even have the internet in here, I don't think. So the growing availability of high-speed internet access, of course, changed the whole landscape practically, and it led to the creation of social networking sites. MySpace, I'm not sure if you remember these. I didn't have it. I don't really remember, but that was 2003. Facebook, of course, 2004. We still do it. So many of you keep telling it, if you come from other countries, that Facebook is so 2004 and we don't really, or you don't really use it anymore. It's just for uni stuff. And many of you indicated that you use the Messenger kind of function, but no longer the Facebook part because Instagram is just more exciting. YouTube started off in 2005 and it still is huge. Twitter, 2006, it never got spread in Hungary. I'm not sure about you and your countries, but it was a miss in here. It's not a hit at all. People were guessing why, and I'm still not sure. So many people say that the Hungarian language will consist of longer words with a lot of, a bunch of grammatically difficult, prolonging structures, and for that reason 140 characters is not going to be long enough for us to do it. But I don't really think it's just that. So many people say that there must be some other trends behind it, for it was not a hit in Hungary. Tumblr also didn't really spread in here. I'm not sure about your countries. Instagram for sure did, so that was like 2010, and I didn't know it, but in China, TikTok started in 2012. It's just that it got to the outside of the Chinese market to the world in 2017, and it did melt musically into it in 2018. So that was like that's when we started knowing it or getting to know it. But I think in Hungary, it only started to spread last year or maybe this year. So it's like 2019, 2020, I'm not sure. Please let me know if you are a user of it, when you started or when you heard of it, because it was also not very big at the beginning in Hungary either. I think we are just a Facebook, YouTube, Instagram kind of a nation, and I'm wondering what yours is like, because that's what spread in here necessarily. Okay. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about regarding social media, because it's very important that we do have these social websites, and I could talk about what they do or something, but you even know it better than I do because you're on multiple or more websites than I am, or these social sites than I am. So I decided to talk to you about the social phenomenon that is related to this issue and that is actually like making sense really, or that is important. And that's going to be the freedom of speech, because that has like changed a lot due to social media. Because before all that, you did have like the traditional electronic media, such as the radio or the television, with professional gatekeepers who are kind of checking through if the information you share is going to be like valid, good quality, true, legal, or not harming any communities or any persons or something, and that's easy there. But the freedom of speech is a rather sensitive issue in the age of the social media, because it's just going to be, like not filtered or not filtered well, and because anybody can upload anything, and it's just going to be problematic. So what is the definition of the freedom of speech? It is the power or right to express one's opinion without censorship, restraint, or legal penalty. These are important notions in here. I do offer you another definition in here, which is like freedom of speech is the right to articulate one's opinions and ideas without the fear of governmental retaliation or censorship or societal sanction. So it's necessarily something that I can say something without having to fear that I will be punished for it. This is the freedom of speech. Very importantly, the freedom of speech is like the basis of all societies, democratic societies, but it's not a new phenomenon. ancient Athens, democratic ideology of free speech already emerged in the 6th or 5th century before Christ. So it's quite an early phenomenon. Of course, Athens is the cradle of democracy anyways, but it started off then. Now, the values of the Roman Republic also included the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion. It was quite important, and the concept of freedom of speech can be found in early human rights documents from the period of Italia and the period of the Roman Republic as well. As we move on within history, we can find that England's Bill of Rights from 1689, they legally established the constitutional right to the freedom of speech, and this is the one, the freedom of speech in the parliament, which is still in effect. So they haven't touched it at all. It's just as valid as it used to be then. And then last but not least, the French Revolution is one thing I wanted to mention. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, they adopted this during the French Revolution in 1789. So you can tell that the freedom of speech, although we are kind of over-highlighting it nowadays, it's not a new phenomenon, and it's been going on for a while in history in very many places of the global society. Now, ladies and gents, with the evolution of the digital age, however, you can tell that the freedom of speech, as I have mentioned, has become much more controversial and problematic. So now all information that are traditionally broadcasted within the media or published is just not so filtered anymore. And on top of that, it's not super filtered, but it stays for a very long time as well. It is archived, readily acceptable. Many can reach it. So it's like a very strange thing that nobody filters it, but everybody can use it and everybody can find it. So now it's a many-to-many policy, and the problem is that it's information that is either distorted or somewhat or valid. Of course, I don't mean to be super negative, because it can be valid, most certainly, but it can be problematic, and nobody filters it, but it reaches a large amount of people and a large public. So that's scary about the new period, really. Now, the legal, economic and cultural regulation of the media system can be very much traced back to the idea that the media should serve the common good of the community, practically. So that's what the Latin language calls bonum commune communitatis. So that's it has to serve the good and the wealth and health of the society, practically. Now, in order for the media to be serving a good end, the common good, to support the common good, the given policy may be 3 different types. There is a conservative kind of media approach, there is a liberal media approach, and then there is a democratic media approach that is listed by Dennis McQuail, who is a huge media researcher. And if you wanted to write your thesis about media, then I highly recommend reading his media regulation and media law books, because it's just super, super exciting. And I know it doesn't seem, but it is exciting. And so he says that there is this conservative model of media regulation inherently, and the most important issue in here is going to be security, regulation of risks. If it considers the media content harmful, it can punish them as well. Germany, Austria, Hungary are going to be a very typically conservative media kind of outlet. We do have it quite often that if a channel, for example, breaches the law or the regulations of risks or the security of, for example, children, if you show any media content that is going to be harmful to children before 6 o'clock p.m., then the channel is going to be punished. And I did see a bunch of times, for example, when they were doing these reality shows and stuff like that, and swearing is contained or nudity is contained and stuff like that, and the channel is going to be kind of taken away for a while. You can only see a black screen. The channel is completely out of order for either hours or maybe more, and then there is a fine as well that they have to pay if they breached the law. It can be liberal. Most important issue is security, self-regulation and self-control. So in here, the media itself will decide what is right and what is wrong, and not the government. So it's not a state deciding what is right and what is wrong. It's going to be self-control, self-regulation. And if something is not according to the channel's own regulations, that's when they can punish it. So it's going to be United States, Great Britain, and Australia. The main key issue in here is going to be self-regulation. And last but not least, the democratic one is going to be, well, the most important issue in here is going to be equality, reduction of social differences. For example, Scandinavian countries, their channels are going to be kind of customized in order to show all kinds of ethnicities, races, cultures, this and that. And like the reduction of social differences is going to be the most important agenda. For example, here it's going to be like the most democratic type of the media, as you can tell. These are the three different types that McQuail differentiates between necessarily. Okay. Now still, the freedom of speech. It says that I can say anything and everything without the regulation of the government, right? Or anything, or state or something. Good. Okay, still, I can't say everything, because I might hurt someone, or I might be a terrorist, or I might be not normal, or something. And that's when some restriction needs to come. There are certain cases which will necessarily stop me from saying what I want, and these are the different interests. Now let me list a few kind of issues which will restrict the freedom of speech, and it's a good thing that the freedom of speech is restricted at some point, because it can cause harm if it's well, anarchy can come if the whole thing, if anything can be told and anything can be said. First of all, the interests of the state. The external and internal security of the state, the possible protection of public officials and state symbols. Very importantly, ladies and gents, the interests of the state are going to be more ahead than the freedom of speech on the hierarchical ladder. So, for example, I did see that certain state symbols, such as a flag, or at some point I saw it that like any symbol that can represent your culture. For example, I did see that some Americans were burning a Matryoshka doll, which is like a very typical Russian doll, completely illegal. This is not this is a freedom of not speech but actions. It's not free. You can't do it. So you cannot hurt the state, the interest of the state, public officials and state symbols. You can't do it, and you can't say just everything or anything about a state itself. You can't declare anything or everything. The interests of certain social groups. Now, voicing anything that's like racial, ethnic, national, religious, like related to all these inferiorities. So hurting someone in their culture or race or religious or anything like gender or anything that will disseminate hate or contempt and exclusion, that's also not accepted, and that's also regulated by the state. So the freedom of speech, of course, it varies from state to state how they do it, but in general, these are issues that you cannot do. This is not something you can do. The interests of society as a whole, such as public peace, public morals. In every society, I'm believing that, that is running according to these rules. Public peace is going to be very important, and you can't just do a terrorist action or something. Public morals, for example, you can't go out on the streets naked because it hurts public morals. So for that reason, unless it's like an area, for example, what do you call those beaches, like nudity beach, when you just, get rid of your bikinis and stuff? Yeah, you can, but apart from that, no, because it hurts public morals, and then your freedom of expression is taken away. You can't do that, most certainly. The protection of individual honor. Now, the privacy of the individual, private secrets of the individuals, business secrets, reputations and stuff like that. For example, I think we mentioned the exgirlfriends.hu within Hungary. I'm not sure if we did that. But there was this website where mainly men were sending in nude photos of their ex-girlfriend and the story of their breakup and stuff like that. That hurts private rights as well. Or those people, also about celebrities, when I remember Jennifer Lawrence, and I also remember like nude photos, and also like Beyonce had some, but that's not that was not private. I think that was just unflattering photos she wanted to be taken off from the internet. But still, business secrets, private photos, anything, they cannot be shared. The protection of individual honor, it also kind of describes everybody's rights, right? It's just that the politicians and the actors, actresses, and these people, they're set to be having, or they have to have a higher tolerance. So, for example, if you go up to any politician's website and take a look at the comments, and there are very many hateful comments there for politicians, they could sue anyone, one by one. They do have the right, because the freedom of speech would be taken down if the protection of individual honor has to come. But they don't really do it, because they have to have it's not a law, but they need to have a higher level of tolerance if you're the public figure. Okay, so these are the cases which will kind of stop you from the freedom of expression, or freedom of speech. These are going to overwrite necessarily those issues. What can the state do if we still do it? So if I'm not allowed to hurt the country's rights, and I still do it, I'm burning flags, and I'm going out naked, and I'm writing hateful comments to people and sharing their business secrets, what can they do? First of all, they can regulate. Now, if I haven't done all these before, regulate. In case of traditional media, the regulations are very much easy. So they say, if you do all these that I have mentioned, then we are going to be fining you or something. If we talk about the media, they do regulations before the media starts functioning. And for example, there are the advertisement rules, that's British English, protection of minors, protection of free competition. For example, in the media rules, the protection of minors is always going to be important. It's before 6 o'clock, as I've mentioned, no nudity, no swearing, nothing can go down. Protection of free competition, that's also very important. So you, within the advertisement field, you cannot really do it. They still do it very many times. I'm going to show you an advertisement as well based on this one. There was this one with Ariel and Persil. I think that's 2 washing powders, and there is this old lady looking at a pair of jeans oh, it's so dirty, and then the daughter says yes, of course, because you washed it with Persil, but try it with Ariel, and then it's going to be way better. That goes against it. And also Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, they're always having wars between them. I'm going to show you a video that I can think of, which is really, really good. And so, it's regulated, and these companies are going to be fined, paying a fine in the end if they don't do that. In case of the new media, regulation is going to be, there's scarce legislation. The protection of competition does exist, but the protection of minors, it's they do put out there that are you above or under 18, and then everybody clicks above, and then you can see the content. It's very, very difficult to regulate within the field of new media or online media. Now, if something is going wrong, and the state needs to not regulate anymore because the regulations weren't kept, they can actually penalize. Now, this is law enforcement, that's what we call it. And in case of the traditional media, the identity of the speaker is quite obvious. So there is law enforcement, which is quite easy, based on civil law sanctions. There are many cases in this one that somebody said something on the media, or somebody was caught doing something, and they were having enforcement exercised upon them. For example, there was this one guy, socialist politician in Hungary, and he was talking about, he was making a joke that there are these Jewish little shoes on the shore of the Danube here in Hungary, in Budapest. And he was making fun, and he didn't notice he was being recorded, that it was Tusnád János, his name, and that the Jewish they don't freeze anymore. It was really cold, and then they don't freeze anymore because practically they were killed, and they cannot be cold anymore. And he was making a very nasty joke like that, and he did get law enforcement being exercised upon him, as I remember. So these kind of things, they will penalize you. In case of new media, it's very, very difficult to identify the perpetrator sometimes, because if somebody puts something out there, you can always say that it wasn't you, or nobody knows because it's like an unknown profile or a fake profile or something. But it can also be that that somebody is like, for example, it's from your IP address, from your laptop, from your computer, but still you say that it was not me sitting by my laptop, so somebody took it or somebody typed it, and it was definitely not me. So it's much easier to play the rules against the government or against the state, and not to be penalized in the new media period, which is going to be troublesome again. Now let's see the bigger struggles of the internet, because these are struggles as well. So new media regulations are also going to be very much troublesome. But the online world suggests to find solutions to the following 4 very big issues as well, which is going to be problematic. Now, previously I have been implying to hate speech, which you cannot do against either a person or a group of people or, well, a nation or something. Authorship is a modern kind of struggle of the new media. Plagiarism is also a problem, and then fake news is going to be the last one. Hate speech. Hate speech is a speech which will attack a person, a group on the basis of race, religion, ethnic origin, sexual orientation, disability, or gender. So it's just going to be practically all kinds of sensitive issues that you can hurt the person by. And governments have been trying to interfere within the online kind of sphere as well, but it's very, very difficult. Germany is one of the first countries to pass a specific law regulating hate speech in the online sphere. And their legislation requires social media companies to remove any kind of illegal content within 24 hours of being reported to them. So if somebody puts up a content on Facebook which is going to be illegal or hate speech, then in Germany they're going to kind of find the website within 24 hours, report it to them, which is, you know, and the website is obliged to take it off, of course. It is, and it's any website which is kind of gaining any kind of comment that is inappropriate. And the provider failing to comply with the law could be fined between 5 million to 50 million euros. That's quite a bit, of course. It's a solution. It is definitely a solution that I'm going to kind of find the website if the hate comment is not taken off. This is the best solution we can do, or they can do, and they were the first ones to try doing it, and it's been kind of spreading between countries as well. Not the best one, of course, because just because the responsible platform exists, it's not them committing the crime, it's just that they will be fined. It's just that I'm going and killing my neighbor, and then the common representative of the house is going to be fined. Which is not good, because I am the one, okay, it's a stupid example, but you understand what I mean, that I am the one committing the crime and somebody else is going to be, or another organization is going to be fined. But still, that's the best that they can do, because the anonymity of the perpetrator is just a bother. It's a problem, and they cannot really do that. Another problem, ladies and gents, is going to be authorship. Now, the term authorship is practically dead in the 21st century. We don't really check it out. So we go onto websites where we read the news, and I'm wondering if anyone is saying that, like, this is my favorite news writer, or that's my favorite publicist, or this is my favorite journalist or something. We don't really do that anymore. I do remember my mom, when I was younger, we did have like a daily journal, or like a newspaper, a weekly one and a monthly one that we paid for, and they were coming to our home. The postman was bringing them. And I do remember that she was saying that, like, oh, this guy who is her favorite journalist, and that and that and that. And nowadays, we just don't do it. We don't pay for articles anymore because we can read them for free, and who is so silly to be paying for it if you can do it for free? And second of all, authorship as it is, and I wish my neighbors stopped pushing around elephants above me, but sorry about that. But still, you know, it's like practically the authorship itself is not in the consciousness anymore. So the article we read, we don't care about the author anymore, or the information we do not know the origins of, it's not a problem anymore. because the author is disappearing, which is quite bad for a journalist, to be honest with you, because it's no longer a big issue. And it's the same for commentators and people like that, because before all that, there was just one guy that we all knew. And right now, it's like a bunch of people working on it, and they are no longer as celebrities as they used to be, because it's just the market is overburdened, and it's just like we don't know them anymore by name. It's not an issue anymore. So the anonymous nature of online message distribution, this is going to be like a problem within plagiarism as well, and that's the next thing I wanted to say. Authorship is not really an issue anymore. If somebody finds out something funny as well, or something great, or a meme is being created, we don't know the author of. It's not necessarily just a journalist. It can be anything. Somebody takes an image or a picture, uploads it, and we will never know or who the original kind of author was. Or somebody is doing a meme, or making a meme, and we will never know who the credit goes to, even though it's super funny or hilarious or something. So plagiarism has become a super hot topic nowadays. A question of what constitutes plagiarism is going to be a very, very, very important thing. For example, the fact that we live in a cut and paste culture. I just find something on the internet and I post it on my Instagram. Or I just, I find a good film and I download it, or I just watch something. Of course, Netflix and these kind of things kind of took the burden, but I'm not sure if you ever download any music that you have ever paid for, but it's not a very big tendency. So plagiarism, and don't think that downloading films or music, that's also plagiarism necessarily, but still, we don't even think about it, that they belong to somebody else as well. The market will accommodate to this, of course. So you can tell that we no longer, I'm not sure if it was in your childhood as well, it was a big thing to buy each other CDs or DVDs or something. I remember my first Britney Spears CD that I was head over heels about, and it was so huge that my mom got us for Christmas, and we were killing each other with my sister, even though it's music and both of us can listen to it at the same time. But, who is holding the CD cover? That was a big thing. Nowadays, we don't do that. For that reason, the market accommodated to it, and they kind of raised concert fees super, super high. Because the musician no longer gets a share from CDs, albums, DVDs, this and that and that, for that reason, the concerts fees are really like sky high as well. If you don't go to a festival, which we don't have in COVID, but the festivals are still the kind of best price share ratio. But one single concert is it costs an arm and a leg. It's just really, really pricey. And last but not least, ladies and gents, this is the last issue I wanted to cover today, which is going to be the issue of fake news, or hoaxes as we tend to call them. Fake news websites are internet websites that deliberately publish fake news, so there is a very big driving force behind it. And I'm not sure what you think. Why is it in the interest of certain companies in certain places to be sharing not real information? Why is it good for anyone? Why do you think it's happening at all? Hoaxes, propaganda, disinformation. Why? Why do you think it's in the eye of the public? Why do people want you to click on it? What sort of interest does it serve? These are all very important questions. Yes, they deliberately seek to be perceived as legitimate, taken value to, and they seek it to look real, to seem real as well, and stuff like that. Hillary Clinton adopts alien baby, very good. They look real majority of times. First of all, I've collected a couple of good examples. Transgender tampon now on the market. These were very much believed. First of all, because we don't know much about it. I don't know where the whole the medical world stands, and I don't know what they can afford to do or not. So maybe it could exist because the medical kind of sphere could make a transgender person have a period as well. I don't know, and maybe because we don't have any knowledge, then we will believe these. Pope Francis at White House says Quran and Holy Bible are the same. He never said that, but because he is the most liberal pope the Christian church has ever had, in his kind of views and statements as well, we might believe that, and because he was not really in the migrant crisis, he was quite pro-migrant, we might believe that somebody would say something like this, and he didn't. He never said that. U2's Bono, rescued during terror attack, issues 6 message to victims. It didn't happen, but it did happen to Ariana Grande in London, if you remember. So it's like there was a terrorist attack there, and in one of her tours, as far as I remember. When was it? A couple of years ago, wasn't it? 2018, probably? I'm not sure. But, because something like this did happen, then we just put another celebrity there, another musician there, and then, it's just going to be believable that it happened to Bono as well. What is the conclusion? You are also an influencer, because we live in Web 2.0, and you have to raise awareness as well. Now, there was one person who did raise awareness. Thank you so much to dear Begayim, who sent me a link, actually, this newsbulletin.co.nz, and practically this is like a super good website. I highly recommend checking it out. This is like a website where they actually give you an article and you can practice your skills. Whether you believe it's like a real article or not, it gives you some options that like it's an irony, clickbait or propaganda. And you can click any of it. In some other articles cases, they will be giving you opportunities that it's false news or it's real news but distorted information in it, or this, that and that. And you can just practice, because I highly believe, and I checked them out and I didn't get all of them right. Even though I learned media communication all my life, BA, Master's, PhD, and I've been teaching it for a while, and it's still, to me, almost impossible to know if it's just clickbait or straightforward fake news or something. I wanted to share this article with you, but because the letters are super small in here, I took a photo of it in my phone as well, sorry about it. So practically, it says that like unbelievable scientific breakthrough, this is one of the articles, uncovers snakes in New Zealand. Have we been lied to? And the whole article, as we go, let me show it to you. Here is the article, and that's just too small for me. So it says that digger operator Kevin Billington, 62, couldn't believe his eyes after he unearthed the remains of what he suspects is a snake early on Tuesday morning. And then here is an interview with him. You're going to find some strange stuff when you're digging. It comes with the territory, said Billington. I've seen my fair share of bones, even the odd coffin, but something told me this one was different. After realizing what he had discovered, Billington and a few of his colleagues managed to carefully excavate the 80-centimeter skeleton from the site. While some locals believe it's likely the skeleton is in fact an eel that has been caught from a nearby river and discarded on the site, others aren't so convinced. One woman believed further investigation was required, saying, snakes have been around for ages, so it was only a matter of time before we found one here. And the rest, and the rest, and the rest. Last but not least, have you seen a snake? Contact your news bulletin on 0508 638 blah blah blah. What do we think? What would you click? Now, so is it an irony? This unbelievable snake kind of story? Is it clickbait, you think? Or is it propaganda? If you check it out, and you can also guess in here, I know that we couldn't read through the whole thing, and I highly recommend for you, I will link it for you to check out what Begayim has sent us. And I just want you to give your tips and tricks and your guesses. Is it irony? Is it clickbait? Or is it propaganda? And now let's take a look. Yes, it's clickbait. I did get this one right. So it said that the title and the wording of it was rather like unbelievable snake discovery happened in this and that city, and this and that was all about it. It's clickbait. So they want you to click on it, and then they are just sharing a story, which is an absolute, there was an 80-centimeter snake. Who cares? Because this is a place where there are snakes always. So it's not a big thing. And it also recommends, I love it about this website as well, so thank you so much, Begayim. Reputable news outlets normally have more neutral headlines. This is how you can find out that something is clickbait or not, or false or not later on. And they offer you a normal headline so that you can imagine what it would look like if it weren't clickbait. Tradesperson uncovers snake remains on the construction site. Question remains as to its origins. That's much more normal if you look at it than this unbelievable scientific breakthrough uncovers snakes in New Zealand. Have we been lied to? This is clickbait compared to this normal title that it offers. So, ladies and gents, that's it for today, and I highly recommend you taking a look at this website. Have a look at it, try out yourself. It recommends like a good 10 articles and you can see how well you do. I'm curious, and we shall share the results with each other on Teams. And the next week we are going ahead with new media literacy, so we have finally arrived in here. From fake news, I thought it was a nice kind of wave, so next week we are dealing with that. But now let's go to Teams and discuss the whole thing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.